Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today it is time to have a look at some new authentic decals which are on offer in War Thunder for about the next month. It basically goes from the 16th of April to the 12th of May. And what is really nice about this set is exactly the same as the last one, that they're bringing back old decals once again. And this pretty much means that you are able to get, some of the older decals which maybe, you missed. And on top of this as well, they're bringing in some new ones. So it's not as if you've ground them out in the past, that you won't get access to, something to grind out now. But for some people who have missed a bunch of them, like me, for example, I actually didn't have any of these older decals, which is kind of a surprise. But these must be some very old decals that they brought back. But I just want to say this is awesome. The fact that we are getting way more authentic decals per time, and also bringing back some older ones with some more interesting challenges, I think is really awesome. So let's have a look. Well, first of all, we have the emblem of the 324th Panzer Battalion of the Bundeswehr, and you need to capture 40 points playing in German ground vehicles, so not too hard. Then you have the emblem of the 1st Tank Battalion, the 1st Company of the Narashino exercise field, 200 GE, so you gotta buy that one unfortunately, but it is how it is. Then you have the yellow Swordfish emblem of the F-10 Air Force Wing, the 3rd Squadron, and you have to get 40 kills in Swedish aircraft, or 20 for RB or SB. And then for China, you got the Flower 8 tail emblem of the 8th BGCNAF, and you need to do 20 tons of bomb damage while flying while flying Chinese aircraft against enemy bases. Italy gets a Bulldog emblem of the ex Gruppo Autonomo RA, and you have to, while flying Italian aircraft, achieve 5 battles with 2,000 points for each. And then in USA, you have the Caballero emblem of the 6th Armored Division, the 69th Tank Battalion in the US, and you have to get 7 battles, scoring 1st place, or purchase for 200 Golden Eagles. Then you got the flags, personal motive for the squadron, LDRR Dick Cresswell, number 77 Squadron RAF, and while playing British aircraft, you have to win 3 battles, scoring 1st place, or purchase for 200 GE. It seems like all the old ones, or the majority of the old ones that they have, because I think these are the old ones, I'm not exactly sure, you can purchase for G, which is kind of nice. You've got the emblem of the 33rd Squadron of the French Air Force, and you have to defeat 40 players using French aircraft, or once again 20 in RB and SB. And then of course the ground vehicles for the Soviets, the 14th Guards Mechanized Brigade, the good old elephant. You have to get 80 kills, or 40 in RB and SB, or purchase for 200 GE. So a lot on offer, and also everything for pretty much different nations. This means that there's a little bit for everyone, depending on what nations you play. If you only focus on one nation, then, at least you get something. The only nation I think that gets shafted here is, who is it? Maybe it is, well, actually no, everybody gets a little bit of everything, don't they? So that's wonderful, that's great, that's how it should be. One thing I will just note about the pictures when it comes to showing off them, so it's very obvious where the decal is on this one, but when it comes to this picture, it's actually really hard to see the decal. It's actually on the, I think the thermal optic right here, so I understand that, it's you want to show it off historically. It might be worth picking. It might be worth picking a decal which you can see a little bit better. But anyway, let's get into the game. Let's show you where the decals are, and also what is the most efficient way of doing each of them. So you can see I've already set them up on my favorite achievements. I've already done the Flower 8 emblem. I did it yesterday because I was just kind of pseudo grinding China anyway. And then if you go to your achievements, first of all, if you go to decals, week's latest, they're all here, so you'll be able to see which ones you already have. They'll be highlighted like this 8 flowers right here. And then I went ahead and bought the emblem of the 1st Tank Battalion, because this one you can't grind, it's only 200 GE, so if you want this one you are just going to have to buy it. Then if you want them set up in your favorite achievements, just go to achievements, go to Decals, then go to week's latest, and you can click 2 favorites on all of these, and then on your drop down menu where normally you have your your plane stuff, then your crew stuff, then you can go to favorites and achievements, and they are all here, so it's just easy to track. So let's go through them, let's go through each one and just how to approach them. The majority of these you will just do over time, so it's not something that you should get crazy stressed about, and do understand that you nearly have a whole month to be able to do these, so you can maybe do like 1 a day, and that will be like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It'll take you 8 days to do each, or maybe even 1 every 2 days, and that of course would mean 16 days, giving you plenty of time to be able to finish stuff off. So the first one is the 324th the Panzer Battalion, and you need to capture 40 zones. So pretty much, when it comes to it, you can use any lineup from rank 2 all the way up to rank 7. Whatever you're comfortable in, whatever you are interested in. I mean, if you want to be as efficient as possible, you probably take the 2.7 lineup, you take the SDKFC 2342, then you take along maybe the Martyrs or the Panzer 3J1, and you run around in the Puma, the 2342, and just go and capture zones. If you have this little machine here as well, the Panzerkampfwagen 2 Sonderfahrt Gestell, you could probably throw that in as well. If you wanted to go up to 3.0, you could go with the SDKFC 2344, and you could just run around with the 2234s, plus the Panzer, or plus, the Stu, or the Panzer 4F1, or the Panzer 3J1, and just go cap zones over and over again. The lower the game, the more volatile it is, so normally the more captures there are when it comes to zones. So if you're a person who is looking to do this most efficiently and most crazily, probably stick to the lower tiers. But since it is just one of those that it is only capturing zones, there isn't really like any skill element to it, unless you want to do it quickly. Then I think you should just take it as I'm just going to play normally, and then over time I'm going to grind out this decal. So for me, I'm going to be playing my 8.7s. The reason why my 8.7 lineup looks like this is because I already have the A1A1 ground out, and also the Baguette Panzer. So I'm throwing in the TAM and the Rakuten Jagdpanzer 2 hot, just so I can get them spaded out, and also get that juicy Leopard 2A4. But the main thing is that I understand that on most maps there is like a home cap, if you want to put it like that. Ardennes or Hurtgen Forest is a great example of this, and if you get that home cap, then that is already one cap on the thing. But as I said, if you want to do it efficiently, get some quick vehicles. If you have the RU251, use that, but if you don't want to use any premiums, just bring out your Puma and run around like a madman, and you'll get at least 1 or 2 caps a game. The next one is the players defeated for Sweden, and this is for aircraft. So this can either be done in 1 or 2 ways, I suppose. You can either do it through ground forces, which is not a terrible idea. It's actually quite a fun idea because of the lineups that are around. So the first thing to understand is a lot of Swedish vehicles are actually quite low in BR when it comes to their ranks. So you can use rank 2 to 7 when it comes to air vehicles. I don't think Sweden has any rank 7s. I don't think any nation has any rank 7s actually. But the thing is, rank 2, you have some crazy machines. You have the J22A, you have the J20, the B17A, and even in rank 3, the J22B and J21A1. So if you want to, what you can do, because a lot of these are very good fighters just in their own right, like superiority fighters, you can take a lineup in ground forces which complements them a lot. So for the 2.3s, you can maybe bring along the STR VM41, the SAVM 43, and then maybe the STR VM40L, and then use your APDS basically to get yourself a plane spawn, get yourself in the J22A and just fly around and shoot anything that you see. A better option again would be running something like the 3.7 lineup, so the PVKV2, the L62 Anti-2, and the SAVM43, and bringing in the J21A2 and the A21A3 at 3.3. These two are incredibly good fighters in their own right at that level. The other thing to understand is you have to destroy air vehicles, so you will have to go after other aircraft. So if you want to do this in a realistic, which, you know, is something you can do as well, that's probably where I'm going to do it personally. I would pick either the J22A, the J22B, the J21A1, or the J21RA or the A21RB. All of these fighters are just insane when it comes to it. Even when it comes to stuff like the J26, which is the Mustang, I use this mainly in ground realistic, so you can see it's pretty much 64 to 43, and then same with the A21RB and the J21RA. It just shows you how dominant these machines are, even when put in adverse situations. And then the J21A1, 21 kills, 3 deaths. when you have a look at the stats, it's kind of crazy. Stuff like the J22A, 5 kills, 0 deaths. J22B, 13 kills, 1 death. A lot of these planes, even though they got put up in BR, are still incredibly strong. So just take them out, use them, get used to them, and get yourself those kills. And it's only 20 kills. It's nothing crazy when it comes to these machines. So you can easily just do it alongside a bunch of, you know, other machines that you want to use. I wouldn't go above 6.7 unless, you know, you're grinding stuff out and you're used to the J29s. The J29s, at least in my opinion, when it comes to their BRs, still don't think they're in a great place, but there are plenty of vehicles under those BRs which are very powerful for the Swedish. The Flower 8 Emblem, you need to do 20 tons of bombs for China. Now China actually has a really nice line of bombers for their, you know, for their actual aviation tech tree, and obviously to get the bombs done, either do it in air arcade or realistic, whatever you are confident in. What I would do is I would actually do it in a realistic. The main reason why is because it's kind of hard to create a lineup of bombers for China in air arcade. If you can create like a bombing lineup like this, for like, as you can see, for example, for the Americans, I think doing stuff like this in arcade is completely fine, because if one of your bombers fails, then you can get in the next one. But China can't do this because it doesn't have this many bombers. It also doesn't have this many bombers when it comes to, you know, what you can do. So instead, I would take them individually into air realistic, and all of them are pretty good when it comes to their bomb loads. So you need 20 tons of bombs overall. I've been using the TU2S mainly because I wanted to use it to research the H5, and then when I got the H5, I've used it to research the MiG-9. I wouldn't actually go for the H5 because it has really dodgy and weird bomb loads which are completely useless. Like all of these pretty much do the same job. So the 12100s nuke a base, this one nukes a base and a third, this one nukes a base, and this one also nukes a base. So the vehicles, if you want to be most efficient at doing this, they're actually at lower tier. So if you want to be a bit more survivable with good bomb loads, use the SB2M or the DB3A. Both of these will net you about, you know, well, that's, you know, they're dropping 2,000 kilos of bombs, which equates to about a ton or 1,000 kilos worth of explosives. So if you get your bombs off, then it will only take you 20 matches to be able to get this flower emblem in either of these. If you want to go for the perfect vehicle for this, you go for the TU4, but I will never use the TU4, just like I will never use the Soviet one, just because of principle. I don't think it should have ever been added. So your second best option is actually the PB4Y2, because it has access to 8 1,000-pound bombs, which each have 240 kilos. So with one bomb drop, you can nearly get 2 tons worth of bombs off. And with these 8,000-pounders, you can knock out 3 bases, because it takes 3 bombs per base to kill it, and then you have 1 extra for the airfield. And if you want a little bit more when it comes to explosive mass, like if you know that you're going to be knocking airfields and nothing else, take the 4 2,000-pounders, and you'll be done in, well, let's see, so 8 1,000-pounders, 240, you'll be done in, well, hardly any time. You'll be done in pretty much 10 matches if you play correctly. So the China does have great options when it comes to dealing, you know, with bombing. It does also have some bombers which are good in ground realistic, such as the P1Y1 and the Tu-2S, but these aren't great in bombing bases, if I'm honest with you. But the thing is, at the end of the day, if you just use them for general grinding, if you use them just to spade out these vehicles as you go, then it will take a little bit longer, but at the same time you get a little bit more out of it. And if you don't have the Chinese tree ground out, I mean, it doesn't take long to get through rank 1 to get to the SP2M, which will be able to get you this emblem pretty easily. So yeah, just play the bombers, hit the bases, and if you want the most efficient ones, just use the PB4Y or the TU4. The next one is the Caballero. In this, you have to win 7 missions and place first in the team. So this is always the roughest one when it comes to these things, and the reason why it's the roughest one is because winning and then also placing first is not always the easiest thing to do, especially with a lot of nations getting more and more really good stuff. So where do I go? I always go to 2-3 for these. The lower the BR you go, the better chances that you have at trying to be able to actually carry a game. Meaning that if you get a decent amount of kills, you'll get first place, you'll hopefully win, even though low tier is kind of volatile. So I bring along my 2 Stuarts. I have the first one, which actually got itself a new skin recently, which is really cool. And from the marketplace, you can see right here, it's the Diana skin. I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of the M5A1. And then you've got the M5A1 5th Army Division as well to bring along. And both of these actually have pretty good SL rewards on them. So if you're playing them at low tier, you can just play them over and over and over again. And yes, if you're researching high tier like I am in rank 6, yeah, you won't get too much research out of it, but what you'll get is a lot of SL, which is really nice. And at 2-3, your main competition is other nations such as France, which got really bolstered the last updates with the M3A3 Stuart, the Crusader, and also the B1 Ter. Then other places like Britain, which have a pretty strong 2-3. But what you have to understand is the Stuarts, with their stabilizer, with their reload, with their AP, pretty much being able to pen everything, with their ability to scout, which gives them, you know, an extra little oomph on top of everything. With their access to artillery, you can get in something like an M5A1, and if you don't have the Crusader, just bring along another machine such as the M8HMC. Bring that along, and then what you can do is you can get in your Stuart, you can get a cap, you can get a few kills, and once you do that, transfer to your P400, be able to dominate the air through air superiority with your 20mm and also your access to 50 cals, and then once you've done that, take out a lot of open top targets, which there are at low tier, and then before the match is over, transfer back to your ground vehicles and you will get the first place and the win. That is at least how I've been doing this type of decal for a very long time. I'm personally a person who sees myself as a lower than average ground forces player, so therefore I try and carry myself through ground forces with aircraft to try and get that first place. So start off in the Stuarts, get a cap, get a few kills, get in the P400, do the majority of your work, because you do get more points in planes than you do in tanks still. Even though they've made it harder, you know, to get points in planes, you still get more points in them than tanks, and then hit, you know, a bunch of enemies, kill a bunch of enemies, and then transfer back to a tank and win the match from there. Pretty much as simple as that. You can also do it at 5.3 with the jumbos if you want to do that, you know, with the M4A3E2 and the Cobra King. You can also do it at 5.7 as well with the 76, and then access to the Slugger, which can just pen anything, the Hellcat as well, to get your caps going, and then obviously you bring along the P45 P-47 and the P-51s to be able to blow everything out of the sky and also on the ground. You could even use your new AU-1 if you wanted to, if you actually have it in your hangar. So yeah, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of interesting stuff when it comes to it, but I think the 2-3 lineup's the way to go. It's a low lineup, it is rank 2, it will get the job done, and since you have to win 7 missions and get first place, you know, 7 times, it's easily the best way to go. So then you have the flags emblem, and once again, missions played 3, and then place in the team first. So for this one, you don't actually have to win. And it is just for air vehicles, so once again I'm going to be focusing on air realistic because that's the main game mode I play. And this one, so normally there are 2 ways of doing it, okay? For this, you know, finishing the team first place and mission played, you either go for a lot of kills or you go for a lot of ground targets. And whatever happens, you're going to be playing low tiers. The reason for this is because at low tiers, you will be able to amass a lot of points without really being bothered. And I would do 2 ways of looking at this. So you either do it in the Hurricanes, so the Hurricane Mark 2B Trop, the Sea Hurricane Mark 1B, or the Sea Hurricane Mark 1C. How is the Mark 1L actually higher than that? Oh, I need to do its engine injection. But anyway, so yeah, you basically do the Mark 2B Trop or the Mark 1B. They're both incredibly good aircraft. They have a ton of firepower behind them, and also, you know, you can pretty much just annihilate whatever you feel like. Very good maneuverability, beautiful planes to fly, and what you do is you garner about 3 kills, maybe 3 kills or 4 kills, and that will normally get you the first place. But remember, you don't have to win, so if you're close to first place, make sure to go after ground targets, make sure to go after the soft ground targets, and normally games at that level go really quickly, meaning that a lot of the AI on the ground actually annihilate each other pretty quick, so getting these like first places won't be too hard in these missions played. So that's how you do it, you know, if you want to do it through the air kills. If you want to do it through other means, which is generally what I normally default to because I get, you know, bored, or I've already spaded a lot of these vehicles, so I feel like I should play other stuff, is you get a ground attacker, such as the Beaufighter, which has a ton of ammunition, or the Beaufighter Mark 10, the Mark 21, you could even get yourself the Mosquito or the Brigand, but I would stick to the lower tier Beaufighters. You get these machines, or if you have something like the Boston, this would be great for it, or the DB7. You take these machines and you just go hit soft targets, so stuff such as AA, artilleries, howitzers, you know, light vehicles, and you try and pick the place in the air realistic map where the majority of people aren't going to fight around. So the places where, you know, you're not going to see a ton of action from a lot of people, and the reason for this is because you want to be left alone while you're going after ground targets. So if you do that, then you'll be able to rack up the points really quickly by just taking out a lot of soft ground targets, and eventually you'll be able to accrue like maybe 20-25 of them, and you'll have an insurmountable lead when it comes to the points that you have in battle. And the only thing that'll stop you from there is if someone has a true carry, like they get 5 or 6 kills and a lot of damage on enemy players, and then they'll actually have, you know, they'll have a lot more points than you. But the majority of the time that won't happen. The majority of the time what will happen is because you aren't really helping your team, you're kind of just off the side doing other stuff, you will, you know, lose, and then you'll get your first places. And since you only have to do it 3 times, you know, you can just hit a bunch of ground targets with something like a Beaufighter, and it's got a really, really low repair cost, so you'll be able to make SL while doing it. So either carry in stuff like the Hurricanes, or just ground attack with stuff like the Beaufighters or the Boston Mark 1. The next one, which is the players defeated for France in air vehicles. So France has, I suppose it does have some actual nice planes to use when it comes to air realistic. I really struggled with France grinding through it, mainly because I ground through it at the time of the air-spawned German P-47, which wasn't very fun. But basically, the planes to target, if you want to use them, which are most effective, you got the VG-33C1. This is a very agile and very fun plane to fly. At 2.7, works incredibly well. Then you have the VBs. If you have them fully modified, they do sometimes feel like buckets in the air, but if you can learn to head on and also go after bombers, you can do really well in them. The P-63C5 is always good to use because of the fact that it has really good rates of climb, really good turn rate. It does everything pretty well apart from high altitude performance. And then if you want to, you can use the Hellcats. The F6F5N leaves stuff to be desired, unfortunately, but the Hellcat is very good, the F6F5, so just you can use that. If you're struggling to get air kills and aerialistic with these planes, because they're definitely not the best in the business, just take them out in ground as well. With 2.7, you can bring along a really nice lineup. The Crusader, the M3A3 Stuart, and the M4A3 Just take that out, bully people in the M4A3 because it's really good for its BR. And then once you die, get in the VG-33C1, go after ground attackers, go after, other machines, and you'll slowly but surely get your 20 kills that you need, because you only need 20 kills if you're playing RB or SB, and yeah, you can just do it through that. It won't take you too long, especially with a machine like the VG-33C, but it is something that you are going to have to focus on, because you're going to have to kill other aircraft and not focus on the ground stuff. But yeah, it's not too hard to do. Just use the King Cobra or the VG-33 and you'll be fine. The next one, so you have to play 5 missions and you need to get 2,000 score with Italian Air. So this is easy to do if you just play aerialistic and you pick a machine which is either incredibly good and can easily get you 3 kills, and these machines would be pretty much any of these ones from this line, apart from maybe the BF-109 G14, but the G56, the reason it has a 55k repair cost is it's a crazy machine. But if you want it a little bit cheaper, you can go for the C205 Series 1, the C205 Series 3, you can go for the G5 Soto City 0. So there's a bunch of different planes that you can play. Even the Reggiani is still incredibly good with its crazy repair cost. You can play any of these planes and just go after fighters. It'll take you around about 3 kills. If you get 3 kills in a battle, you normally have yourself 2,000 points, or you'll be very, very close. The other way that you can do it, if you want to do it in a different way, is do it through ground striking, and you can take stuff like the SM91 or the SM92. Both of these have access to 20mm MG151s, and the MG151s do kill pillboxes. So you can set them up properly if you want to, and 2,000 points in general isn't that hard when it comes to aerialistic. You're probably looking at around about 20 ground targets, 20 soft ground targets. So something like an SM91, even though it's a really good fighter, you could use it as an attacker and use the bombs from it, or the SM92 to be able to get yourself, a little bit of ground action. If you wanted as well, you could use the F-84 G21 if you wanted to grind that out, or the Vampire, because both of these have pretty good secondary armaments. So use them to go bomb stuff and do it like that. But what I would do is I'd try and focus on just playing this fighter line and just playing any of these fighters and having fun with them. And after a battle, if you have 1 kill or 2 kill, and there's maybe like 1 enemy left or something, just make sure to have a look at your mission score, and once you've got your mission score above 2,000, then focus on, carrying the game. So yeah, just get 1 or 2 kills, maybe 3 kills, check your mission score. If your mission score is high enough, then you don't have to worry. If your mission score isn't, just hit a few AA and artillery, which are normally around, the battlefield, and then focus on winning. And the last one is the Elephant, and this is for the Soviets. So all you have to do here is just get kills for the Soviets. So we use this as a researching decal. What I mean by a researching decal is kind of like the German one with the capturing zones. You don't really have to worry about anything. while actually playing this, and what I mean by that is you'll get the kills over time if you just play normally. So if you want to do it really efficiently, use 3.7, you know, use all the T-34s, the KV-1L11, go beat up people, go smash them in the face. The 5.7 lineup as well, T-34-85, IS-2, PT-76, you could throw in something like the ISU-122S if you had a Death Wish, but you know, you have a very strong 5.7 with the T-34-85 D5T, you could do that. You know, your 7.7s with all of your T-54s, very strong machines, plus the IS-4M if you want to have a bit of fun, but I wouldn't be too fussed about this one. You need 40 kills in realistic, which is generally, you know, what I'm going to be playing, so just play as you go. You know, don't worry about it too much. I'm personally going to be grinding out the 6.3s because I haven't played them in a long time, and or I might be grinding out the 8.3s. I'm not sure with the T10M and the T55A available. But the main thing to understand is you don't have to worry too much about the kill decals as long as you're just playing the nation above rank 2. So look at vehicles to Spade, look at vehicles to maybe gain some SL from. As we said, the 3.7 lineup for the Soviets is very strong, and unless you're trying to do them quickly, don't worry about it too much. Just play normally and you'll eventually get, you know, the decal. So yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. There is a lot of cool stuff on offer here. I'm really happy to see that you know, they're bringing back some old decals. I hope it continues. And also another thing as well, when it comes to the Warbond shop, if you have a look, they've also brought back some other things as well, or I think they brought some other things back. Maybe I'm blind. Never mind, I think I'm blind. Hopefully they bring some other stuff back anyway. But oh yeah, they brought back the Zodiac signs, which is really cool. So yeah, it's nice to see they're bringing back old content. Hopefully in the future we get more of it, and hopefully the trend with authentic decals bringing back some older stuff is kept up. I really like it. You know, there's a lot of new players who didn't get access to a lot of this old stuff, so bringing it back doesn't hurt anyone because they're putting new stuff on top of it as well. It's just nice to see. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I just want to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Martinez, Super Cacti, Trigger Hippie, Eugens Terry, and also Elove Goat and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.